So I'm going to ask you all to just take a minute with me. And I want you to imagine yourself at 7 years old. And I want you to imagine yourself riding in the back seat of a car with your parents, coming home from Wednesday night service. And then this car pulls up on the side of you. Pow! And you hear your father scream, "I'm shot, I'm shot." That is what happened to me. And that night, when my father was shot for his involvement in a federal voting rights case, marked my induction into the world of voting rights. And it has ignited in me a passion about the subject of voting. So as I thought about what I would say today, I found myself wondering, how did something so valuable to the elders become so undervalued today? I mean, how can we miss voting when the power of the vote is so real that people would kill to keep you from having it? We see our schools getting less resources and policies being made that deny us access to opportunities, but we don't even bother to find out what the candidates believe. I post candidate information on Facebook every election, but is it shared? No. We fuss about police mistreatment and the lack of support from state legislators, but when we had a clear choice earlier this year, only 12% of the voters came out. We have candidates who understand the needs of our community, but we stay at home. So what does our complaining must sound like to people in power? Must sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wonk, 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 wonk. But they respond to who is voted in or voted out. There was an old song by Shirley Caesar where her mom was watching Shirley in the backyard playing church. But this one time she said, she ain't playing this time. Well, this election is an election where you should not be playing this time. 2 years ago, the Voting Rights Act was gutted in the name of a fictitious voter fraud. Since then, 22 states, including South Carolina, have added or strengthened a photo ID requirement, which unfortunately 25% of African Americans like. You can't be playing around this time. In Alabama, after they passed the voting ID requirement, then they voted to close 31 DMV offices and almost all the DMV offices in the counties with the highest African American voters. You can't be playing this time. 24 states passed laws to make it harder for college students to vote. Some polls were closed near predominantly black colleges and near bus stops that serve predominantly black communities. You can't be playing this time. 8 states cut back on early voting and hours because stats show that a higher percentage of African Americans vote during this early voting period. You can't afford to be playing this time. A candidate for Congress is bold enough to have a billboard that says, "Make America White Again." We have candidates who degrade African Americans to all white audiences. We have candidates who have put a stamp of validation on the kinds of lies about minorities that you once only found on white supremacist websites, like the one that Dylan Roof said he used. We have hate groups creating PACs and throwing financial support behind candidates. We have a country being bombarded with propaganda with one common theme: that non-white people are the source of the trouble in America. And it has created a meanness and a fear that you can feel at work and especially see on your Facebook timeline. You can't be playing because they aren't playing. So what are we to do? We need to make sure everyone we know is registered to vote. Everyone should check your own registration online at scvotes.org, scvotes.org, this week to make sure your information is correct or that you haven't been purged from the rolls. You need to get your address changes made this week. You need to vote in numbers like you did in 2008. You need to vote and you need to pray like you really know that they aren't playing this time. You need to vote like your life and your livelihood depends on it, because this time it just might. Thank you.